And while they're waiting for Caterpie to come back out, a Pidgeotto suddenly flies by them and lands in front of them. And of course, here goes Ash getting all excited again. And for what reason? You literally tried to suffocate a Pidgey 2 days ago. So what in your thick skull can make you think you can catch its evolved form? And you know it's bad if even your own Pokedex tells you not to do it. But hey, they don't call him Ash Ketchum for never mind.
Hey man, it's your boy Alex, and welcome back to another bang.
Today, we are talking about Pokemon, and more specifically, when Ash meets Pikachu and begins his journey to become a Pokemon master. So sit back and relax and grab some popcorn, because without further ado, it's time to get unhinged. So we start off with Ash waking up late as hell. And mind you, this is the biggest day of his life, because today is the day he becomes a Pokemon trainer. Or so he thought. And I get that you're 10, but there is no way you should be late right now. You got a loud-ass Dodrio screaming his lungs out, and the sun beaming on your face. And now you're so late, you have to sprint down the road in nothing but your pajamas. And when he finally gets to Professor Oak's lab, he runs into Gary and his cheerleaders. And after he flexes on Ash, he takes his Glazers and drives away. When suddenly, Professor Oak appears and brings him inside. And instead of telling this kid that there are no more Pokemon left, he sits there and watches him open every single one. And after Ash asks him if there's any more left, Professor Oak says that there is still one more remaining. And he tried to warn him that this one is a tweaker, but Ash was not leaving there without a Pokemon. And as he opens up the Pokeball, out pops his new partner, Pikachu. And the moment Ash picks him up, Pikachu gets triggered and electrocutes him. But after Professor Oak gives him the rest of his essentials, they all head outside to meet his mom. And after retrieving his bag and saying his farewells, him and Pikachu finally head out on their journey. But they're not even a mile down the road and they're already beefing. But suddenly, a wild Pidgey appears. And when Ash tells Pikachu to fight it, he climbs a tree and yawns in his face. So with no help from his only Pokemon, Ash takes it upon himself to capture this Pidgey. And when he throws the Pokeball, the Pidgey breaks free and runs away. And to make it worse, Pikachu proceeds to laugh at him. But Ash does not stop there. He then grabs his shirt and tries to suffocate it, but it did not go in his favor. And after his own Pokedex calls him stupid, he locates another target. And after he yeets a rock at the back of a Spearow, it starts to attack him. And since it can't get to Ash, it starts to attack Pikachu. But Pikachu shocks it and sends it falling to the ground. And this Spearow got so embarrassed, it turned and called for reinforcements. And moments later, an entire tree of Spearow fly in to attack him. And now Ash and Pikachu are running for their lives. But the Spearows eventually catch up and begin to jump Pikachu. But Ash picks him up and continues running. But when he eventually runs into a dead end, he decides to jump off a waterfall. And mind you, this is his first day as a trainer. Actually, it's probably only been 30 minutes. But anyways, as he's swimming through the water, we cut to Misty fishing nearby. And when she got a tug on her line, she yeeted this man out of the water. Like, how is this possible? Look how far this man is in the air. And when he crashes down, Misty hops over to check on Pikachu. And Buddy is on 1 HP. So Misty points him to the nearest Pokemon Center. And the moment she does, the Spearows appear over the trees and continue to chase them. So Ash's first response is to steal Misty's bike and peel off. And to add some dramatic effect, it begins to rain out of nowhere. But even through the storm, the Spearows continue to hawk them down. Like, bro, do you know how bad you have to piss off a bird for it to chase you through a storm? And while he's getting attacked, he goes airborne again. And he lands so bad, both him and Pikachu go flying. And if Pikachu could talk, I know he would be cussing Ash out right now. Because first off, he didn't even want to get picked in the first place. And then he proceeded to get attacked by birds, yeeted off a cliff, and flung through the air multiple times. Like, look at him. Is he even breathing? And look, hear me out. And I'm not even joking when I say this. Meeting Ash had to be the worst day of his life. But even in this disastrous situation, Ash turns around and begins to defend his partner. And as the Spearows dive in to attack, instead of going into his Pokeball, Pikachu dashes in and completely obliterates them. And with the battle now over and the sun shining down on them, they both look up to see a magical Pokemon flying over a rainbow. And as the two continue on, they finally arrive at Viridian City, where the rest of their journey is about to begin. As Ash is running through the city, he gets snatched up by Officer Jenny, and as he stands there confused, she asks for his ID, and he has no idea what she's talking about. But she notices his Pokedex and snatches it, as she shows Ash where his ID is located. And now that he's finally identified, she drives them both to the Pokemon Center. Meanwhile, Misty finally arrives to the city with her busted up bike, and as she chases after them, Team Rocket makes their first appearance, as Jessie, James, and Meowth slowly drift over the city. But back near the Pokemon Center, Officer Jenny drifts her bike through the building for absolutely no reason. But after they talk to Nurse Joy, Pikachu is finally getting taken care of. And while Ash is waiting in the lobby, he calls his mom. And the moment their conversation is over, he receives a call from Professor Oak. And once they're done chopping it up, he suddenly gets confronted by Misty. And she's understandably pissed off, because not only did he straight up steal her bike, he completely destroyed it, and probably had no plans of paying her back. But while she's yelling at him, Nurse Joy suddenly comes out with Pikachu, when out of nowhere, an alarm goes off. And moments later, Team Rocket hovers above them and chunks their Pokemon through the ceiling. And after making their team introduction, they begin to attack the Pokemon Center and cut the lights. But luckily, the center had a backup power source of Pikachu? But regardless, Team Rocket eventually finds them. So Misty steps up and throws out her Goldeen with no water in the vicinity. But while Team Rocket is distracted, Ash uses this chance to run off with Pikachu. And the moment it wakes up, a multitude of Pikachu appear out of nowhere and shock Team Rocket. But they don't stop there. Ash then jumps on Misty's bike, which should not be working, and produces more energy for Pikachu, which he then uses to shock Team Rocket again and blow up the entire Pokemon Center. And after Team Rocket escapes in their air balloon, we cut to the next morning, where the Pokemon Center is in complete shambles. But now we cut to the nearby Viridian Forest, where Misty has now joined Ash and Pikachu on their journey. And as Ash faces off against a Caterpie, he turns his hat backwards and attempts to capture it. So as Ash tries to capture this Caterpie, I want to take a second to note that these kids are throwing straight beamers. Look how he pegged this poor innocent Caterpie. For this being only his second day as a trainer, he already has better accuracy than an MLB pitcher. But as the Caterpie goes into the Pokeball, they just start sitting there, watching, and it's just wiggling away until... And this meant Ash can barely hold his excitement. And I know Pikachu's relieved too, because Ash finally got another Pokemon to abuse. And after they're done celebrating, Ash starts teasing Misty, because she does not like bug Pokemon, or just bugs in general. So to make her feel better, he lets it out, and she turned into Usain Bolt. And even though she hid behind a tree 30 feet away, she was still not safe, because instead of going to its owner, Caterpie books it towards Misty and caresses her leg. And all it wanted was some love and affection, but she makes it cry and hurts its feelings. And to make things worse, she grabs Pikachu and cuddles it in front of Caterpie. But luckily, Ash, being the sassy king he is, takes Caterpie and Pikachu and walks away. But Misty, who doesn't want to be left alone in the middle of a forest, decides to follow after them. And Ash was like, "Why are you still following me?" And she said, "I'm not leaving you until you pay me back for my bike." And honestly, she has a point. But Ash did not give a damn. That man really told her, "Why are you still tripping over a bike?" Well, first off, she's 10, and that was quite literally her only mode of transportation. And since you destroyed it to smithereens, she has every right to press you about it. But anyways, we fast forward to later that night, where they're still arguing. But mere moments later, they both fall asleep. So Caterpie and Pikachu take this time to do some late night bonding. And after speaking a language I do not understand, we finally cut to the next morning. And the first thing Misty sees when she wakes up is her worst nightmare. And after waking up the entire forest, she makes Caterpie cry again. And she hurt his feelings so bad that it crawled back into its own Pokeball. And while they're waiting for Caterpie to come back out, a Pidgeotto suddenly flies by them and lands in front of them. And of course, here goes Ash getting all excited again. And for what reason? You literally tried to suffocate a Pidgey 2 days ago. So what in your thick skull can make you think you can catch its evolved form? And you know it's bad if even your own Pokedex tells you not to do it. But hey, they don't call him Ash Ketchum for... Never mind. So after Misty scolds him for not weakening the Pokemon first, he decides it's a bright idea to thaw out his Caterpie, who is probably still depressed from being bullied 5 minutes ago. And not even 10 seconds later, this poor Caterpie is getting mollywopped across the forest. And before Pidgeotto had a chance to kill it, Ash had no choice but to call his Pokemon back. And while Pidgeotto tries to retreat, Ash tells Pikachu to hit it with a Thunder Shock. And as it gets paralyzed mid-air, Ash throws a Pokeball at it. And after a few wiggles, he somehow captures it. But this time, he does not get to celebrate, because not only did Misty get on his ass for being a terrible trainer, but they are once again being interrupted by Team Rocket. And these grown-ass adults are here to steal Ash's Pikachu. And before they can even defend themselves, Coughing shoots some sludge in Pikachu's eyes. And with Pikachu now out of commission, Ash throws out his Pidgeotto. And it held its own for a good minute. But with the battle being a 2v1, it was eventually overwhelmed. But when Ash calls it back, he decides to take the fight into his own hands. And after trying to punch James, he gets thumped so hard he gets sent flipping backwards. My brother! Either James has the strength of Kratos, or you just flopped hard as hell. And just when you thought this man couldn't make any more bad decisions, he decides to thaw his Caterpie once again. And as it's about to get jumped, Ash tells him to use String Shot. And that weak-ass move, which does absolutely nothing in the actual game, defeats both of Team Rocket's Pokemon. But it was not done. It gives Meowth the same treatment. And with no more options left, they decide to run away. And directly after the battle was over, Caterpie shoots string in the air and evolves into Metapod. And just to remind you, he captured this Caterpie yesterday. So for it to evolve this fast, it had to have gained hella XP, which also means that the likelihood of it winning this fight was damn near impossible. But regardless, as they all celebrate Metapod's new evolution, they pack up and continue their journey through the Viridian Forest. Alright, so that's it for today's video. But don't worry, we got some more bangers coming soon, so stay tuned for that. And once again, I appreciate everybody for watching. And before you leave, please make sure to like and subscribe as well. It's your boy Atlas, and I'll catch you next time.